Welcome everyone to this meeting of the DeKalb County Board of Registration and Elections. My name is Vasu Abhiraman. I am the vice chair of the board. Our regular chair, as you can see, is calling in remotely, so I'll be presiding over this meeting. Calling the meeting to order, and I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Good afternoon, board members. When I call your name, please respond by saying here. Vasu Abhiraman.
Here.
Travis Bowden. Here. Gail Lee.
Here.
Dele Loman.
Here.
Carly Swift.
Here, President via Zoom or Teams.
We have a quorum.
Thank you so much. All right, next we have approval of today's agenda. Assume everyone's had a chance to review it. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Awesome. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that's unanimous. All right, next we have approval of minutes. That's going to be for 2 meetings, one being the certification meeting last month, and the last one being last week's meeting. We had different sets of attendees for these meetings. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the June 23rd, 2005 meeting. You want it on both of them?
Sure.
Okay. And July 17th, 2025, special called meeting.
We have discussion?
Yes. I just wanted to check with the attorneys about our ability to vote on the minutes for meetings that we were not present for, although if we don't, there will not be enough people to approve it.
That's correct. We spoke about that this morning. As an administrative convenience, we can make it clear on the record that you weren't here, but you can vote on it, yes.
Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? All right, we'll take the vote. Oh, sir. And if you could turn the mic on, yeah. So.
Did he say we can vote on it or we can't vote on it? I missed.
Yes, you can.
You can, okay.
And I think they're just gonna make it clear in the record that some folks weren't there.
Okay.
All right, we'll take the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, that's unanimous. Okay, we're gonna move on to public comment. Only 2 people for public comment today. Does anyone else want to speak besides the 2 people who are signed up? Okay, good. First, we have Cheryl Dudley. Sorry. We'll go over the rules for public comment first.
Public comments may be made in person or by submitting an email of 1 printed page or less in a minimum of 12 font to electionspublicccmt@DeKalbCountyGA.gov, which must be received between 35 and 5 minutes before the scheduled start of the meeting. The body of your email must include your first and last name. By submitting an email for public comment, you agree to have your name and email broadcast in the Ustream and entered into the record of minutes. The Board of Registration and Elections reserves the right at the board's sole discretion to add your email to the record of minutes without reading any of it into the broadcast, or to read a portion of your email into the record of minutes. All public comments will be limited to 2 minutes. Abusive, profane, or derogatory language, holding up signs, clapping, yelling, standing, laying in aisles to show support or opposition to a speaker would not be permitted, but a show of hands or quietly standing in place will be permitted to show your support or opposition to a speaker's position.
Thank you. All right, sorry for the fake out, Cheryl.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I should have known. I know enough. Hi, good morning. Just a brief couple of comments since I was just if we're thirsty. Again, I want to, which I probably didn't do, welcome again the new board from the last year that I've been attending here, and the hopes that I'm sure the board will continue to stand up for the voting rights of all of us, no matter what party, no matter what is, again, Last Thursday, I repeated that was the 5-year anniversary of John Lewis's passing, a man who almost gave his life for primarily minorities to have voting rights. That back then it was violence, it was things like poll taxes, it was things like literacy tests. Thank goodness now we haven't gotten to the violence particularly yet, unless you count one day. But we are looking at a time period where, again, many people are trying to limit those voting rights. Again, I ask you to continue to stand up for all of us. You've done a great job. I hope that continues. Again, people have the right to vote. There's actually one country that you're fined if you don't vote, and that is Australia. I mean, that's kind of weird, but that's another country. So please, folks, civilization needs to go forward, not backwards. And democracy is part of that, civilization. And people are watching Georgia, thank goodness. They're wonderful election attorneys that are out there that also are helping defend our rights. So thank you again, and I look forward to a great year.
Thank you, Ms. Dudley. Next, we have Janet Grant.
Thank you. My name is Janet Grant, and I live in the city of Decatur, and I'm here to ask you to fulfill your legal responsibilities today with the certification of the July 15th special primary runoff election. As the Georgia Court of Appeals 3-judge panel ruled unanimously on July 2nd in a case brought and appealed by a Fulton County Election Board member, this is not a discretionary act for members of boards of election in Georgia. During the period between election and certification, you certainly have the responsibility for reasonable due diligence. But at the end of the day, certification must be executed by 5 p.m. on the Monday following an election to meet state law. I was present on November 14th, 2023, and very surprised when 2 members of this board voted to not certify the general municipal election that year. After a number of questions were raised by those members and answered very appropriately by BRE staff, they still chose without explanation to not certify the election. In an apparently coordinated effort, a number of others across metro counties made that same decision. A member of the Fulton County Board went on to submit a petition to the State Election Board calling for reasonable inquiry before certification. And despite strong legal advice from both the Secretary of State Legal Counsel and the Attorney General, the SEB passed that rule. They were immediately sued, and it was struck down in court. On appeal, the Georgia Supreme Court ruled that the SEB had exceeded its authority in establishing that rule, and that certification is indeed a mandatory responsibility of election board members. Apparently done in the name of election integrity, acts such as this only undermine public confidence in our elections. So I hope that today and in all future elections during your terms on the BRE, I see this board unanimously certify all elections. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Grant. Do we have any emailed comments? None? All right. We can move to our next item on the agenda, which is the main reason we're here. Items for decision, certification of the special primary public service commissioner election runoff. That is a mouthful. Try saying that 5 times really fast. We'll pass it to our director to present the results that we'll be certifying.
Thank you. So I generally provide an overview of the election. So I will start with the presentation that you will find in your packets on page 9 and that we will display on the screen. So in just a summary of our key priorities with the department, especially for the new board members who are with us, you will see that and exemplified in our work that we center our efforts around enhancing the voter experience for all eligible voters in our county. This is manifested through the work that we do to ensure the integrity of our elections, improve operational efficiencies, and enhance staff training for not only our poll workers, but our full-time employees as well. And so this, along with integrated technology and innovation, helps us better our processes and upgrade our voter experiences each election. So for the July 15th, 2025 special primary Public Service Commissioner election runoff, you will find the turnout totals on slide 12. The snapshot for registered voters in DeKalb County at that time, active, was 508,223. Ballots cast in this election totaled 24,210. The overall turnout was 4.76%, so a little less than the runoff, the primary, special primary. Election day, the total ballots cast was 18,679. During early voting, 5,347 ballots were cast. Absentee by mail, we had a total of 172, and provisional totaled 12. On slide 13, you will see a snapshot of the turnout for early voting, and no surprises here. Memorial Drive was the most popular and accounted for 62% of the early voting for that week-long period. Dunwoody Library and Salem Panola Library were second and third. On slide 14, you will see absentee by mail that out of 173 received, 172 ballots were accepted, and one out of that 173 was rejected. On page 15 of the presentation, which we are struggling with on the big screens, and I apologize for that. The provisional absentee ballots totaled 3, and they were all cured, and rejected for incorrect ID was 1. On slide 17, you will see the number of precincts that were open during the runoff, which is we have 191 precincts. Polling places totaled 147, and that's because, of course, some of them are co-located or combined. So the actual locations totaled 147. Our poll workers for the runoff totaled 1,089. The equipment tested and deployed for the runoff totaled 294 poll pads, 759 touchscreens, and 147 scanners. On slide 18, you will see the election day provisional totals. And out of precinct, we received 15, 12 of which were accepted, and 3 of the 15 were rejected. Registration in question was 1, and you will see that that was 2 rejected. So out of the 16 total election day provisional ballots, 12 were accepted and 4 were rejected. Okay, so with that, I just want to always thank our board, our staff, our partners here at the table and in the room, our county partners, as well as our poll workers and poll watchers for helping us facilitate an election that's accurate, efficient, and done with excellence. So I do want to just mention, I didn't get a chance to mention during the last meeting that Jessica Hill, who is my executive support assistant, is no longer with us. She transitioned to another department, and today is her first day. And so I know she's watching because she does that. I just want to thank her for her hard work and dedication to the department, to the board when she was here. She took a load off of my plate, and I appreciate her efforts, and I'm sure that you all will join me in wishing her all the best in her next endeavor as she joins the Code Enforcement Department for DeKalb County. So she will still be assisting the citizens of our great county, but just in a different capacity. So thank you, Jessica, for your assistance.
So if she's watching, maybe a round of applause?
Yes. I do want to, just before looking at the election summary report, which the numbers are the same as what we just reviewed, mention that after each election, we go through a robust process of canvassing. That process is to reconcile our records of voters, the ballots cast, and election results. The canvass focuses on reviewing and correcting records prior to any audit, or which focuses on verifying the correctness of the tabulation. And so, as you may recall, in our pre-certification meeting, there were no errors. And so with that, I have for your consideration on page 21, the election summary report, which is the unofficial and incomplete report for all contests, all districts, all tabulators, and all counting groups for the PSC District 3 Democratic runoff for your consideration and certification.
Thank you so much, Director Smith. We can take it popcorn style. I'll recognize Ms. Dele Lohman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And through the chair, I'd like to, thank Ms. Smith for the explanation of the process that the department goes through post-election to ensure that the count is accurate. Could you also just give a high-level explanation of the provisional process and curing, just for the overall benefit of the public?
Actually, I want to call up either Julietta or Holly, who oversees the provisional process for that explanation. Holly Smith, who is our registration supervisor, will grab the mic.
Testing. Hello. Good afternoon. My name is Holly Smith. I'm the registration supervisor for DeKalb County. And to kind of go over how we do the provisional verification, we have a lot of checklists. And so every single provisional ballot that is submitted to DeKalb County goes through a rigorous checklist to make sure they're actually registered in our county, that they're not out of precinct, just a whole entire process. And so it goes through 3 revisions. So 3 people actually review it to ensure that nothing was missed, or if something was missed, it was caught. And so therefore, after all of those checks and balances are done, then any duplication that needs to happen, so for somebody who voted out of precinct, that ballot will have to be duplicated to the correct precinct that they're supposed to be at. So once we get to that process, then the whole entire provisional process is complete. And so this election was really, really simple because it was only 16 ballots. In November, we had like 600. So this election was really, really smooth. And so after we go through all those checks and balances, then the team puts those results on the website. So anybody who voted provisional can go and view their record. And then they get a letter whether or not they're accepted or rejected. So the final complete process actually happens after this meeting. My one of my team members, she'll draft those letters, get those sent out to those voters, and then the process is full circle and complete. You're welcome.
All right. Anyone else recognize Gail Lee?
This report is unofficial and incomplete. When does it become official and complete?
Once the board certifies the
Okay.
election.
And I would just want to say that I'm impressed with the commitment of the Democrat voters who came out, 94% of the number of people that came out for the primary. That shows a real commitment, and that's very good. Then one more question. Do you have a ballpark figure of how much a runoff like this cost?
I don't have the numbers today, but I will have the numbers, the exact total, by the next meeting, and I can share that amount. I don't have the numbers. I know that we typically have per advanced voting location, what's the total cost? I don't have the numbers. So they're nodding, but. Correct, per site. What's per site? Yeah. So we can share those numbers per site so that you can kind of get an idea of what it cost. But I also will have the actuals
Great.
after we reconcile.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
All right. That's it for, I think, our board questions and comments on certification. Would like to call. Okay. Miss Swift, are you there?
I'm there, thank you.
All right. Do you have any questions for the director?
I don't. I just want to thank the director and the staff for all the work that they put into finalizing the results. But no questions at this time. Thank you.
Fantastic. With that, I will entertain a motion to certify the election. And I think at the same time, this motion can be to enter recess to sign. Okay, so entertain a motion to both certify the election and enter recess to sign the official returns.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, brief recess to sign the returns. back, the chair will entertain a motion to enter regular order and exit recess.
So move.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 All right. We have certified the election. Always appreciate being applauded for signing something. All right, next we have executive session. Do we have any need to enter executive session?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right, then we'll move on to board comments. Before we recognize each member for comments, wanted to recognize the attorneys team to introduce a new attorney and a student visiting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Candler, would you stand, please? Clark Candler is an attorney in the law department. He's been with us for years, but he's new to the elections team. So I wanted to acknowledge his presence, particularly for the board, so you would all recognize that he's a part of the team representing you. He is not attending his first meeting today, and it dawned on us that we'd not had a chance to introduce him. And then we have the pleasure of being joined by Ms. Caitlin Hardaway. Ms. Hardaway, if you would stand. Ms. Hardaway is a political science student at Howard University, and she is visiting with us today. Quite impressive that a student in their off time is continuing to further their learning by observing firsthand the process. So, Chairman Abby-Rahman, we thank you for allowing us to acknowledge them.
Fantastic. Yes, thank you so much for being here. I suppose DC wasn't hot enough for you around this time. All right, we'll move on to board comments. We'll recognize each person one by one, starting with Mr. Travis Bowden.
I don't have that many comments, but I would like to welcome Mr. Candler to the team, and hopefully I won't have too many questions that will tie you up, but I will. I'm looking forward to working with you, and have no other. Oh, and to Ms. Hardaway as well, welcome, and hope you've enjoyed this meeting.
Similarly, welcome Mr. Candler to the team. I did want to mention that I got to vote early in this runoff at the Salem Panola Library, and as usual, it was a very smooth, efficient, and positive experience. Everyone was really courteous, and it was super easy to do. So I always appreciate that. And for Ms. Hardaway, welcome. My uncle was a Howard alum, and so it's great to have you here, and maybe we'll be on the same flight back to DC tomorrow. And I think that's it. Thank you.
I would like to thank everybody involved in the elections, from the staff here to the runners who delivered the ballots, for all the work they've done and the long hours that they put in. And then I'd also like to address a question that was raised in the public comments at the last meeting. And that question was, why can't we vote anywhere on election day? Why do we have to go to our primary or our precincts? And so I thought, that's a good question. And I looked it up in Grok, and Grok tells me that it is not a federal requirement, it is just a state requirement. It's in our law. And so that can be changed if people want to do that. Some of the reasons, well, one of the reasons was that it was easier to allocate by precinct to get the supplies to the right place for the right election. But I think that's probably been overcome by the electronic information age now. So anyway, I just wanted to answer that question. I don't think Mr. Beach is here. I believe he's the one who raised it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'll recognize Ms. Carly Swift virtually.
Thank you so much. I want to thank everyone for participating today and being here, and also thank the staff. And I'm glad to hear that our colleagues are in support of allowing people to vote on Election Day. That law, the change in the state law happened recently. That was one of the recent changes that occurred, because before then, people could vote provisionally on election day. I think that's the question there. So I'm glad to hear that there's some support, and maybe we can all work together to help our legislature see the importance of allowing folks to have more flexibility to vote on election day. But thank you so much for everyone, and look forward to seeing you guys next month.
Thank you. And what I'd like to add to what my colleagues have mentioned, first, I'll echo the thanks for all of the hard work from the department for holding this runoff in the summertime. It's not something that's always predictable to do, and it's an extra load, and it takes a lot. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of people. It takes a lot of late nights and weekend work, even if it's a small election, because of course it's countywide, statewide even. So thank you. Thank you to everybody for all of your hard work. Couple of opinions to express. One is that these pre-certification meetings, the meeting last week, I think they're pretty dumb. I don't think we should have them. I think they're especially dumb because it happens in the middle of the reconciliation period and the period when people are curing their provisional ballots, when UOCAVA absentees are coming in. It could possibly make more sense if we go back to the pre-SB 202 regime, when counties would certify by the Friday, the week after the election. That's a lot more time to make sure everything's right. Of course, that was all accelerated, which is why a pre-certification meeting, again, happens in that 3-day period following the election. I just think it makes absolutely no sense and wanted to get that on the record. I do support vote centers on election day. I think that would make a lot of sense. I think there were technical limitations before for that kind of thing. Vote centers is a term of art in the elections administration space for being able to vote anywhere in your jurisdiction on election day. Of course, we have a vote center process for all of early vote. You can show up to any location in the county throughout early vote. And then runoffs, again, mentioned that they are resource intensive. I do support, I don't speak for the board, of course, these are my personal opinions, support runoff reform in Georgia. We're the only state that does it exactly like this. Perhaps there's a compromise we can all come to. If somebody gets above 45% of the vote, for example, we're not gonna have a runoff. Because this kind of thing is really, really costly and time consuming. And I think the time is better spent elsewhere in a circumstance where someone's gotten above 45% of the vote or whatnot. Finally, wanted to recognize, I know one of our public commenters mentioned literacy tests, which were shameful in this country when those were a barrier to the rights of historically disenfranchised voters to vote. I will mention there is a nominee out of this administration named Josh Devine. He's the current Solicitor General of Missouri. He's nominated for U.S. District Court in Missouri. And just a little more than a decade ago when he was in college, he's a young nominee to be a judge. He called for the reintroduction of literacy tests. And this is not a stretch, right? You can go read his piece for yourself. I would encourage folks to Google it. Josh Devine is his name. He called for literacy tests to come back. And if you have an issue with a nominee like that being considered by the Senate Judiciary Committee or the U.S. Senate as a whole, I would encourage you to make your voices heard with your senators and with their respective committees. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Bye.
Meeting adjourned.